gosh, it's so bright out. Wow. Is there anything that we can do about this? Ah, that's better. Hi everyone, this is Tim Costello coming at you with another quick video about ND filters. Alright, so what is an ND filter? ND stands for neutral density, and in its simplest terms, it either reduces or modifies the amount of light and color let into a lens. Now, why would you want an ND filter? For me, I'm an event videographer, specifically weddings, and I can't control what the climate is going to be on a specific day. If it's really bright and sunny outside, you need the right equipment to be able to handle that so your images aren't blown out or overexposed. What you're seeing right now, the camera settings are at f-stop 13, ISO 100, and a shutter speed of 1/50. And you can see that the background and the foreground are exposed the same. So the subject, which is me, doesn't really stand out. This is one way that you can film. However, it's not ideal for getting that cinematic look. When you put an ND filter on, you're able to reduce your f-stop to a lower number. Therefore, your subject will be more in focus and more cinematic. And we'll go through what that looks like shortly. All right, guys, as you can see now, the image looks a lot different. We just put on the Peter McKinnon edition PolarPro 82mm ND filter. And we adjusted the settings to an f-stop of 2.8, keeping the ISO at 100 and the shutter speed still at 1/50. Now, with a lower aperture as opposed to what it was before at 13, we're able to differentiate between me, which is the subject, the foreground, and the background by creating depth of field, creating an overall more cinematic and, quite frankly, amazing look. So I have my friend Manny here with me today, owner of One Take Media, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna shoot some different shots and some different B-roll now with the Peter McKinnon edition ND filter, a cheaper ND filter that I also have in case you don't feel like spending an arm and a leg for an ND filter, and then also without the ND filter completely, so you can see the difference between all three different shots, and you can see which ones look the best and the most cinematic for your own self. Alright guys, one thing worth noting is that I did accidentally leave my camera on auto white balance, and if I wanted a true comparison, I probably should have turned that off because it's going to be a little different from image to image. And I also noticed here looking at the footage that the Yongnuo ND filter has a more saturated look to it, which I don't necessarily like. I prefer more of a neutral, less saturated look, and that is pretty visible here in the clips. Alright, so what we learned was that the shots with the ND filters looked way better and way more cinematic than the shots without the ND filter. As for the differences between the two ND filters specifically, it was really hard for me to actually tell a difference. So if you're someone who's just starting out, you don't necessarily need to go spending big bucks on the Peter McKinnon PolarPro edition. You could go to Amazon and get yourself a less expensive version, a lot like the other one that I was comparing the Peter McKinnon edition to today. In fact, for all of the gear that I'm using, from camera to mics, monitors, lenses, I'm going to put all that in the description below so you could check out the gear that I'm using and maybe get something for yourself if you like what you see. That concludes my video on ND filters. I hope you learned something today, and I hope I helped you improve your shooting. Good luck, and I'll catch you in my next video.